committees. And so we call it A Better Way, and we address poverty, the economy, health care, tax reform, national defense, and the constitutional authority. And as members of Congress, and as your representatives in Congress, it doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're from, this should be important to all Americans. Because I think over the last 50, 60 years, the House of Representatives, Congress, has turned authority over to agencies. And my experience in my 4 years that I've been in Congress is agencies set forth new regulations and rules that we never voted on. And we all have to live with them. We write letters saying, please don't do that, or we try to pass a law getting to stop it. That's not what our founders had in mind. Our founders had in mind, and according to the Constitution, all legislation will come from the Congress, made up of a House and a Senate. This is your representation. This is your chance to have your voice heard, is through your representatives. And agencies have people you'll never meet who are deciding things for all of us. And so I think it's important that you are able to hear your voice heard. Let me talk a little bit about health care, because we've been hearing an awful lot about it. And you're getting a lot of things that I don't find to be accurate. First of all, let's define what success looks like in health care. To me, a successful program is one where every American possible has access to care and affordability of care, and that there are actually providers that take your plan. I want people that are on Medicaid to be able to see a doctor, but today very few take it. And so you have a piece of paper rather than actual insurance that gives you care. That's a problem we face in America, and I hear it all the time. We want people to have options, and we want to reduce the costs, and we want to increase access to care. That means having providers that take your plan. Right now, I think it's 31% of counties in America have plans, states I should say, have plans, only one plan. They only have one option. Those aren't choices. You want to be able to have what you need and what fits your lifestyle or your family's needs. I'll give you an example. You know, under the Affordable Care Act, I know some people have been helped, and we don't want to change that. Nobody wants to change that. Why would somebody want to change it? I hope somebody did get help. Greenfield, Ohio, in Highland County. I was in church one Sunday last year, and the priest was talking about fundraising for the church. And a woman raised her hand in the middle of the homily. Said, Father, you don't know what's going on out here. You don't know what it's like. She said, I'm paying so much for health insurance now, more than I ever had in my life. And God forbid if I get sick, because I can't afford that. I'm hearing deductibles of $8,000 to $10,000. And so are we really providing care if people can't afford it? And so when they know they have this high deductible, they don't go to the doctor. And then they're very sick. We've got to address these issues, folks. To me, success looks like access to care, not just a piece of paper. So when you talk about more people having insurance, that's great, as long as the insurance allows them to actually be seen. And I've heard over and over and over again, oh, Republicans want to get rid of, if you're 26 or under, you can be on your parents' plan. No, we don't. There's not one person, and we've had that written down for 4 years. And they also say that you want to get rid of coverage for pre-existing conditions. That's not true. And we've had that written down for years as part of the things that we need to discuss as a nation and as a legislative body, as far as what we want our healthcare system to look like. Most of you know I'm a doctor. I didn't become a doctor to turn people away. I became a doctor to take care of people. And realistically, I don't think there's one person in Washington, either side of the aisle, that want to set up a system that deny people care. I have found it interesting from the beginning because I think Congress should live by the laws that they pass, every member. Well, when it comes to the Affordable Care Act, Congress and their staff are in the Affordable Care Act. My family's in the Affordable Care Act. president's not, the vice president's not, the secretaries of departments are not, the Supreme Court's not. I don't find that fair. People deserve choices and they deserve access to care. And as a physician, I can tell you, doctors want to take care of people. And they want the ability to take care of people. So there's a lot of things that we need to change there. Been asked a lot about the hacking. I serve on the Intelligence Committee. When it comes to hacking, we've known for years and been complaining for years in the Intelligence Committee that we are hacked repeatedly. Not only Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, all these adversaries want to hack into our system. I will tell you what's disturbing to me is that I don't think people in the government are trained properly in prevention of getting hacked. In the military, those of you who served recently, you know that every year you have to go through and take a course and learn the types of things that are being put out to try to catch you and to get your personal information so they can hack your system. But we don't see that with all the government employees. Not to the degree that I think we should.
Definitely do. Absolutely, as a federal employee, we have to take that training every year.
I'm talking about elected officials.
You said federal employees.
Well, hold up, and just thank you for your input. And keep talking. I just think we can do a better job and create more awareness on these types of things that the military does, and if they're doing, that's great. But obviously, there's not been enough because the vulnerability has been there. I think that when it came to the Russians and the election, there's no doubt that they would love to have an influence on our elections. So would all of our adversaries. And I'm not sure what their strategy was. To some degree, I think that they felt they had nothing to lose. If they could damage Mrs. Clinton, then that would weaken her. And if she didn't win, which I don't think they expected, if she didn't win, then it would cause question of the Trump presidency. We've got to get tougher on how we manage this and do a much better job. And we've been talking about it for some time. Because we face a situation today that's far different than many of us grew up with as far as our national defense. We're about air, land, and sea. But today, you have to include cyber and outer space as well. We have threats from nations, and we have threats from terrorists as well. I want to go back to constitutional authority and why I think that if we have this in place and we do things properly, that America is better served. Our founders set out that legislation will come from a Congress, as I said before. Article 1, Section 1. And I think that we as Americans should insist on this. That no one should have overall authority, that we have co-equal branches of government. Because that's how we negotiate. And that's how we have discussions. And that's how ideas are brought forward. If we all have open discussions and engage in different ideas. You know, I look back, Bill Clinton was president. He had a Republican House and a Republican Senate. And what I've read is that he vetoed 36 bills in his time, which he has complete authority to do. But from those who served at the time, there was a difference because he would come back and talk with Congress and say, well, if you change this, you change that, I can go ahead and pass that. And during that time, we actually had a balanced budget for his administration. And the economy was doing well. That's the American system that's supposed to work. And that's what I'm fighting for. The founders set it up very smartly, but also very difficult. It was made to be difficult. But if we don't adhere to the system, it becomes even more difficult. Folks, I worry about our struggle for the future of America. I want to talk just a little bit about the difference between mandatory spending and discretionary spending. The way it works now today, mandatory spending is spending that just goes out the door, virtually no review of it, and we spend it no matter what happens, even in a government shutdown. Discretionary spending are the things like national defense, research in healthcare, your roads and infrastructure. And what we've seen 50 years ago, mandatory spending was at 34% of our budget. Today, it's at 68%. And they project in 10 years it will be 78%. Now, part of that mandatory spending is the interest on our debt. The pie on so many things that are important to us keeps getting smaller and smaller. And we have to maturely address this and try to leave something better for the next generation. Listen, I'm here to hear your concerns. That's what it's about. I'm not here for a fight. I'm here to hear what you have to say, because that's how our system is supposed to work. You're free to call our office at any time. You can always get through to us. Our staff is here. We're here to represent you, listen to you, and try and bring the best ideas forward in Washington. My goal today is to try and get a chance to talk to each and every one of you if I can. One of the things I learned long ago is a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson I think has stuck with me, and certainly in my day-to-day life, and as a physician for years, and working with patients and getting to know your patients. I'm paraphrasing, but what Emerson said is, everyone I meet is my superior in some way. And in that, I learn from them. That's what today's about. So I look forward to starting to make my way around each and every day. Thank you for being here today.